Yes, me again. So we have a pubco, or not yet, a company expected to go public very soon under the ticker NFT. My job is to deploy capital within the NFT space, which includes the metaverse and I don't like to say play-to-earn gaming, I like to say decentralized gaming.
Hey, my name is Reich. I'm CEO and founder of Splinterlands, and we're one of the biggest play-to-earn games in the world.
Hello, my name is Joshua Armah. I am the Director of Computer Science at Wuji Games and founder of Armah Studios. We're focused on regenerative gaming, which is basically taking game commerce and creating regenerative actions in the world where we can bring regenerative design to everyday people.
And I'm your moderator. My name is Juan, Friedler, CEO of Gigex. We were the largest downloader of free-to-play games in Web 1.0, and our company now advises a whole bunch of projects in the DeFi gaming space, including a company out of Asia called Maha Games. So let's hop into this. Blockchain gaming and NFTs. Jesse, you've had you've had a lot of interesting stuff to say about gameplay and tuning really a game. So I guess the big question on a lot of people's minds is, do people play blockchain games for fun, or are they doing it for collectability and appreciation, or both? Can those things be reconciled, and how?
Yeah, I think games in this space are built on 3 core pillars. The first is your community, the second is your game mechanics, and the third is your economy. So it's the combination of your community, your gameplay, and your economy that really drive adoption, but stickiness, and getting people in and keeping them there. So when you ask people, it varies between those 3 what percentage they care about, but they all care about all 3 of those categories to some level. And so what you need to do in your overall game design is make sure that people feel welcome in your community, that there's a place for them to earn, whether it's through the gameplay or through some kind of rental mechanic. And then finally, it's the actual gameplay at the core. It has to be fun. This is gaming. And that one of the main pieces that we're selling is the entertainment value. So you need all 3.
And Splinterlands has done an amazing job of building community, building user bases. Can you just tell us how you did that?
Some of this was built around the choice of blockchain that we did. A lot of people thought that we were nuts for building on Ethereum, but one of the things that happened when we built originally on Steam and later forked to Hive is that it was originally built, the blockchain was originally built as an app-centric program, which was meant to be a blockchain Reddit competitor. And what ends up happening is that there's a whole mechanic around what they call proof of brain, that when you create posts and people upvote them, you get cryptocurrency in exchange for that. And so our players get to not only earn while they're playing, but a lot of them will then go onto social media, and in particular blockchain social media, and they will earn in the game, they'll tell their story of how they earned in the game, they'll make a YouTube video, they'll get passive income from that, and they'll put it into these blockchain posts, and then they'll spread that post and get upvotes and earn more. So for a lot of the folks, we're getting, we spent very, very little money in actual marketing dollars, but we've had an enormous amount of articles and stories and pieces like that written about us directly from the player base, because they get money when they do that.
That's actually really amazing, because the one thing that I tell NFT projects, if your entire pimp squad, fan base, zealot people who love you are in Discord, in your Discord, you have not deployed them to the world. So you can literally just solve that problem.
Yeah, you have to link, community building is important, and that's a huge part of retention, right? So you need a scheme around how do I get new people and how do I keep them here? Once they're in your Discord and they start getting friends and they start getting to know people, they don't want to leave. They're that's my buddy. I play games with them. I kick their ass, they kick mine, and we're all having fun. They can't leave. There might be other games where they can earn, there might be other games that are fun, but you can't find that human anywhere else, so you got to stick it out. But you're right that it doesn't help you with, it helps you with retention, but that's not how you grow. How you grow, you have to get out of your own community, get out of your own little bubble and start pulling people in.
Or incentivize your community to go do it for you because that's what you did, and that's the key right there.
Micropayments, it's a lot easier to get your whole community to spread the word for you than just to be one central entity trying to get the word out.
And Josh, you've built a bunch of different projects. We know each other from the Bay Area stuff. When you're doing that, you're working on several projects now, right? What perspective do you have when you look across a bunch of games and stuff you've done and what you try and build into the next thing you're working on?
The number one thing I'm focused on is culture. Like right now, cultural games are not prevalent, meaning that if you want to take like Puerto Rico, for instance, and take the Taino culture and the indigenous culture of the people here and create a game around that, you can incorporate that with game content. So being able to cross-pollinate real-world cultural identity into play-to-earn games is one of the big things I'm focused on. The reason for this is that it opens up a more diverse audience. Right now, for instance, you have people playing Fortnite. Like my son is 11, he's half Puerto Rican, half black. I would love him to play Axie Infinity, but he has no incentive or connective elements, like his friends are not on Axie Infinity playing with him. So being able to embed like his culture into a play-to-earn game is some of the layers that we're trying to bring to game content, because game commerce is really what is starting to attract more people. Like if you play NBA 2K online or Call of Duty online, there's a bunch of guilds. So people are joining guilds based on who their friends are and they're collaborating. So we're really targeting from a cultural perspective, how can we like actually bring cultural identity into the game itself so that people can identify not just with playing a game, but also being able to like be in a community where they have peers that are like them as well. Not just through race, but through their age group, but through their interests and things of that nature.
So I just want to maybe take a 10,000, 100,000 viewpoint. When we talk the word video gaming, it's very, very different. So I'm of the generation, I grew up with Atari. If you're not too familiar with what kind of gaming we're talking about, we're talking fully immersive, interactive experiences. There's 3.1 billion people that are gaming. So when we say these things, when we talk about gaming, we're talking about people establishing relationships. So, some people actually use dating apps. Some people, we actually use video games for social interactions. My chief of marketing, he actually married his wife that he met in a video game. And when we launch these games, when it's not like Pac-Man, it's not like Frogger, it's not like Call of Duty, these games we can interact, have emotional context with our peers being right next to me, or actually halfway around the world, and you add the layer of the most cutting-edge financial technologies, and that gives us the ability to enjoy ourselves, interact with our friends, and actually earn an income. So, we talk about metaverse. We're spending so much time, energy to build environments for people to enjoy themselves and give them an opportunity to earn money where they're not having to commute through traffic through LA. Think of all the carbon we're saving that way. Right? So we're giving back people the opportunity. As a kid growing up, all of us, all of us, a bunch of us were all gamers, we're building the thing. It was like, wouldn't it be kind of cool to hang out with our friends all the time and make money playing video games? And through technology, through high band, like 5G, 6G, through stellar, through all these technologies, and add that layer of blockchain, DeFi. It's really, we're trying to build really our dream, and so many people are joining us. So I just want to talk a little bit, just mention it, because I know we mentioned gaming, but it's very, very different than what gaming was 6 years ago, 15 years ago, and
it's more
30
than
years ago.
It's more than a game. It's more than a game now, because when I talk about the metaverse, I'm just going to jump in if that's okay. When you talk about the metaverse, Animoca Brands had a great interview where the founder said, life itself is a game, if you think about it. The game of life. So for me, it's logical. Again, we have a guild, by the way, so we're very bullish on guild building. Cultural guilds are really exciting as well. We're putting a lot of money into our guild, acquiring a few others, because I see guilds as like educators and incubators within the metaverse, beyond games. But I see games evolving, all these different games that are doing really well, evolving into an entire world, an entire economy, community economy, that is, we call it a game now, but later it's just going to be another way of living life, a different life that we like to call the metaverse.
Yeah, and I think another thing which is super interesting is, you know, the original games model was like the publisher creates the content, pushes it down to you, the serf, who happens to be the gamer, and you pay, right? That's been the model. The other thing too is publishers have been really resistant to bringing other IP into games. So you look at these kind of game/metaverse things like Roblox, you know, bringing in a whole bunch of content, looking at Fortnite, bringing in, you know, Travis Scott doing concerts. You're having this mashup of content. Now, the amazing thing for me when I think about play to earn is that you're owning your IP. You're basically owning a way to make money moving forward. What do you all think about IP in general as it relates to blockchain games and bringing in original IP from somewhere else and putting it into your game or your metaverse? How is that going to work?
I think it's really interesting because not only is this my child's dream come true, that he can play video games and actually make money and not have to ever get a job or leave the house or get a driver's license. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. He's 18, he won't get his license. Anyway, but the idea of being able to have almost crowdsourced creativity for upgrades. I mean, when you can cross-pollinate, that's what Chromia did. You have an NFT that can wear an NFT, you have a gun that can work 3 times, and you have a gun that only works for 7 days. You can rent it out. The whole rental unit thing is amazing. There's another thing. You play to earn something good and then rent it out to somebody else and make money. It's really a different way of thinking about an economy. And if you think about, if I just build the infrastructure and let everybody else build the creativity and those pieces, and I just take a little piece as the platform, that's part of what we're doing with the Billionaire Zombies Club in the metaverse. We're taking it from a generative art piece, created a DAO, and then have the Battle Royale game, and then the full metaverse.
One of the biggest things, just a big build off of what you're sharing, is that, you know, I'll just bring this up. A lot of people thought social impact was not a business. And you're now seeing more play-to-earn games prove that you create social impact as a business model. And if you look at like social justice, there's been a lot of rappers and singers and artists creating NFT-based music and also promoting social justice. But why is this important? Because when you have community organizers that have no money and they're like a starving artist and they're passionate about a cause, they can now build their own guild and then gamify their social impact. This has never been done before on a practical level. So one of the biggest things I'm interested in is the accessibility for social impact to be weaving into play-to-earn games so that we can have game mechanics that allow everyday people that care about causes to be able to include like signing a petition in the game or being able to contribute to a cause. And that's where all this becomes practical value for everyday people that may not necessarily use this for their income, but they may use it to fund their social initiative in their local community. And that's where like hyper-local organizing really can take advantage of all this stuff right now.
So I love content in games. I mean, I think if you have random shooters versus like, here's this branded thing with characters that we know, you know, anytime that you take it from just like, here's your own intellectual property to here's this like mega sports group, here's this entertainment group, the value is immediately 10x, maybe even 100x for the different tokens in the game, for the project, for the scarcity, but it also helps you with demand and growth. So one of the reasons that we're building a game with one of these big sports agencies, we'll talk about that in a couple months from now, but we really think that the brand and like having all these star athletes make it just an overnight success where, Splinterlands had to grind for 3.5 years and build our community and build this from scratch and tell you about our characters and our lore and our story. You don't have to do that if you're presenting the biggest intellectual property in the world, the biggest brands. Like, you don't have to say who the Avengers are. You don't have to say who Captain America is or, whether they're famous singers, Game of Thrones, it doesn't matter. Like, people know that content. And I think if I were to go say, hey, here's a pack of cards, it's our own intellectual property, there's demand because, play to earn is cool. But then if I tell them, here's this play to earn thing, and by the way, it's sponsored by 1,000 athletes, all of whom are household names, and they're all like megastars, which one would you want more? Which one's going to be more popular? content is king. Content is always king. Getting millions of people that are already fans of something and releasing that will be bigger than just doing something on your own.
But you guys get that because you are Web 3.0 or blockchain gaming, whatever you want to call it. The question is, do the legacy EAs, Activisions, are they going to be open to that? Or even Roblox. It's like, okay, now Roblox is killing it, they have a huge valuation. Why couldn't I have trading cards inside of Splinterlands with something that's creating Roblox, right?
So for legacy platforms, so I'm not going to mention any games, but if you just look at your kids or some of the game companies you own, if you look at the compensation packages for the executives, if you look at the cost of development in the developed world, so I'm mostly talking about Western Europe and North America, their cost per acquisition per player is quite high, and their compensation is quite high. There's executives make 30, 40, 50, $100 million a year, and where is that wealth coming from? That's actually coming from the players. So for those organizations, though they will try to come in to the NFT gaming space, they are not structurally designed to actually give the value, like Splinterlands or like an Axis, give that value back to the players, because you tell an executive, hey man, listen, we're going to take away your plane, we're going to take away your golden parachute. That's not going to happen. So one of the things that we are very, very bullish on is grabbing some of those younger executives and joining us in really play to earn and really understanding the metaverse. So when people say, there's not one studio that we talk to probably 11 to 12 every week because they want to try to figure it out, they're just not structured to actually compete against us. Because we want to figure out how can we give value, be it entertainment, be it bringing a smile to a kid's face, or giving them $100 a week by playing our products and services. Those major legacy companies can't afford it, and they're not structured. And because the shareholders will not stand for it.
And that's why Meta is not going to be a big deal for us.
Yeah, so Mario, real quick, from an investment perspective, let's just touch on that for a minute, and then we'll grab some questions from the audience. But from an investment perspective, Axie Infinity, obviously the first kind of blockchain gaming unicorn. When are other blockchain, are we going to see kind of the hyperbolic growth of blockchain gaming such that we're going to have a bunch of uniform companies based on their model? And will it be a good thing for investors? And how do investors get their head around this as an investable asset?
Yeah, I said earlier that fundamentals don't change, and I think the same will apply to the gaming space. So when before crypto, when I look at a business, whether to invest or partner with it, or building my own businesses, I talked about having a community, how the business is structured. So when you have, let's say, talk about e-commerce business, my business. So we have to have a story about why people should buy our product. Then a community started forming around that story. And then the business itself had to have systems in place to be efficient at getting the products, shipping them out, etc. And then if you talk about the pillars that you mentioned earlier, you had the game economy, the mechanics of the game, and the community itself. They're the three pillars, yeah? Did I miss one?
Community, the game mechanics, the economy.
Exactly. If you look at a traditional business, you've got the community, the mechanics of the business, how it functions, how we ship products, how we dispatch them, and the economy. The numbers need to make sense as well. So for me, the fundamentals don't change. Whatever new buzzword comes up, whether it's the metaverse, the multiverse, I'm trying to coin that new term, multiverse, metaverse, play-to-earn gaming, decentralized gaming, or whatever new hype comes up, and there will be within a game. So right now we're calling it play-to-earn games. I think that term will evolve into something else as the games evolve as well. Play-to-earn metaverse, or metaverse game, or whatever it is, new term. The fundamentals don't change, and as an investor, we'll be looking at that and saying, but the meta won't matter that much. Who actually, I'm going to do a quick experiment, 30 seconds. Who hates what Meta's doing in terms of launching their metaverse? Okay. Who thinks it's a good thing for the space? No one else? Oh, sweet, there you go. Oh, come on. I want to add just one point there, it could be interesting before we don't have much time, so I'll be very quick. Everyone will launch a metaverse, whether it's Apple, whether it's Facebook or Meta, whether it's a government organization, etc. Everyone will launch a metaverse. Anyone can launch a metaverse the same way anyone can have a website within on the technology that supports website. TCP/IP, etc. So you can all build a metaverse within a digital representation of the world we live in today, known as a multiverse. Anyone can build a game. Doesn't make it won't have one game controlling all games. So I just wanted to touch on that topic because I think it's really interesting.
It really, because here's the thing, okay? We have privacy issues with Facebook. We have Facebook randomly banning people. Heaven forbid you say like Siamese cats instead of tabby cats, and then the person who's moderating says, no, you're banned for 30 days. My girlfriend got banned for 30 days early COVID with a post about virtual museum tours for those of us who are feeling like a little shaky in lockdown and needed to get out.
Yeah, I agree. So people will avoid that metaverse of Facebook.
But that's what I'm saying, is that they're gonna get some people in who function well in Facebook. But the whole point of blockchain is personal responsibility, self-reliance, your keys, your money, right? And that is not a centralized corporation's wish for us.
No one
they
can
want
control
to own and control our data and our
Okay, yeah, so they can control their own metaverse, but no one can control the multiverse,
Right.
which is what you're referring to.
Do we have any questions out here? We got 2.5 minutes left. I'd love to come. Yes, the person in the back. Just hang on real quick. You're about to say something, Josh? Okay, cool. You're like a game show host. Yes, sir. Your name real quick and a quick question.
Thanks for a fascinating panel. My background, I'm a corporate securities lawyer, so I'm always interested in the regulatory aspect, and nobody really talked about it. I looked at the loot box regulation, and I don't think there's anything specific in the U.S. or other jurisdictions like Australia and the European Union certainly have enacted regulation around it. I have seen class action lawsuits against Apple and EA around loot box or gambling. So do you see that on the horizon?
Yeah, and the corollary to that is like the whole security conversation we had a few years ago. How are we dealing with NFTs and the value of that?
Well, if security is a utility, and if you have an NFT that has instant utility, then you have a case that it's potentially a utility. But if you're buying an NFT for investment purposes, I would say at some point they're going to put a stop to that.
And part of that too, you want to have your tools be as decentralized as possible. So, even if the SEC came and said, okay, this website has to shut down, you can't shut down things that are running as smart contracts on hundreds or thousands of computers. It's worse than whack-a-mole. So part of that is, you build this thing as decentralized as possible, and you try to not avoid the laws, but just say, this is a decentralized operation.
One more question over here, guys. Your name, sir, and the question.
Hi, my name is David, and you guys all seem to have a very expansive view of what the metaverse is going to bring. It seems like there's going to be just many different worlds that people can pop in and out of, and that the assets are going to have to be able to transfer between those different metaverses. It seems very complex and very large. My question is, how does your vision, if I understand it right, inform your intuition regarding like the layer 1 wars? Do you see that ultimately that there will be a winner-take-all solution to layer 1, or will be a multi-layer 1? What are your thoughts?
So I just want to say like a simple way to think about this, at least for me, when I'm trying to disseminate information, is like we all probably have different cars. But we all use gasoline or electric. So that's basically what it is. So we all have a highway, we all function, but the metaverse is just your style. If you want to go shopping one day, if you want to go fight robots, if you want to fight monsters, it's all different cars, but we're all using the highway. So I think in the future, layer 4, layer 5, layer 10 of the internet, or whatever you want to call it, we're just all basically hanging out and just trying to have fun and trying to make a few dollars.
Okay, we'll just squeeze in one more question and then we'll go.
No more.
Hi, thank you for the information. It's been really valuable. This question is more for my name is Marcos Sola from Crypto Conexión. Thank you for the information that you guys provided to us today. This question is for Jesse and Michael, and I just want to know if the games that you guys have anti-cheats for hackers and bots. Since it is play to earn, these hackers and bots can just play the game and earn the tokens and oversaturate the token, like what happened with Axie Infinity. And the second question I have is, are you guys focused on competitive gaming? Games that last the test of time, you know, like Call of Duty, Halo, League of Legends, all those AAA titles. Thank you.
Yeah, the
Quick answers, guys.
real quick, we do try to stop bots. We allow them, kind of like poker, anybody with chips in a chair can play. Here it's anybody with keys and cards can play. And what we try to do is just allow everybody, because we don't want to be a centralized organization that bans cards. Like, we've seen that happen. We've seen hundreds of thousands of dollars just get banned, and we think that's wrong. So we want to allow bots and allow those things, but not have them have competitive advantages. So we build our economy to go say, hey, bots are just going to be part of this existence, but you guys don't get benefits for running bots.
I love that. That's cool.
And thanks for having us.
All right, guys, we're over time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.